Hi friends! Welcome to this episode of Yarnyheart Fiber Art. That thigh slap was so loud, so I'm going to try that again. Hi friends! Welcome to this episode of Yarnyheart Fiber Art. My name is Jess. You can find me on Instagram at yarnyheart, and this is the show where I talk about all the yarny things that I've been up to. So hopefully you all are enjoying the new intro. I'll scratch my eyebrow first, then talk. So hopefully you all are enjoying the new intro. I just decided to revamp things a little bit. So today I don't have a whole lot of finished things or new things to share with you, but I do have a lot of progress updates. I do, however, have one finished object that you all have never seen before. I did it start to finish within the 2 weeks that I've been away, which is partially why I don't have a whole lot of other progress to share on other things. So I do have that to share. I have updates on some of my whips, and I have one new acquisition to share with you as well. So if that sounds like fun, stick around, sit back, relax, get your knitting, and let's get started. So first, let me talk about the finished object. So I did share my plans for this in the previous episode, so it's not completely new. At the very least, you know, I did talk about that. So I have it finished already. I know I'm so scatterbrained. I'm filming this like after work in the middle of the night, just because I am giving this away tomorrow, and so I wanted to try and sit down and get this episode filmed before it was out of my hands so I could at least show it to you all. So apologies if I seem a little all over the place right now. That's why. I'm very underprepared to film this episode, but we're gonna roll with it anyway. And this is my one finished object. So this is the Auckland bound hat by somebody whose name I can never remember, and I'm gonna look it up right now so that I can give her proper credit in this video, because I do know that in the previous episode I didn't have her name ready either. So let me just look this up real quick. Girlfriend, put your name on the pattern. Maddie Mo is what it says on the pattern as her self credit. So this is the Auckland bound hat by Maddie Mo, and this is a free pattern. It was a really fun pattern. Like, I understand why it's free, because once you get started it is pretty self-explanatory and pretty simple. So I do appreciate her giving out the pattern for free. But it's a very nice hat. And so this is something, like I said, that I had mentioned in the previous episode, that I was planning to make, and this is for a coworker's mom. So I don't work directly with this person, but she had reached out to me after the silent auction where I donated all of the crocheted plushies, or the amigurumi, and she had reached out and kind of like asked some more questions, and I found out that the reason why she was asking, she was looking for a very soft material for her mom to wear in a hat to keep her head warm as she's going through the process of losing her hair. And so I worked with her to find a yarn that works, and I ended up just offering to knit the hat for her at the cost of yarn. And I did use pretty much like every last inch of the yarn. I don't really have any of this left, but this is Knit Picks Capretta, which is, I think it's 10% cash. I really should have here. I have an unused ball of Capretta in a different color. So okay, so it is a fingering weight yarn that is 80%. So it's a fingering weight yarn that is 80% superwash merino wool, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. And this is not the same color, obviously, but the color that I used for this was called Moonstone Heather. And I did hold it double to get kind of like, I would say like a heavy DK, light worsted kind of gauge, because it does say that it's fingering weight, but it feels like a little bit on the thick side for a fingering weight. So I feel like it kind of gave me more of like a light worsted here. Yeah, very beautiful pattern. It's very interesting. So you start off with a smaller needle, which is you know, pretty typical. You're working a 1x1 rib with a provisional cast on. And then when you work however much you want the brim to be, you put your provisional cast on onto a separate pair of circular needles, and then you kind of nest the two sets of needles like inside each other. So like if that's one needle, then like that's the other needle, and you kind of like do that. That was super awkward, but I hope I got the point across. So you kind of nest them inside each other, and then you do what feels like a 3 needle bind off, but you are knitting, so you do like a knit 2 together with 1 stitch from each needle to make this a permanently folded brim. And it feels really nice and it looks super professional. So I think that's a technique that I'm gonna stick in my back pocket for whatever future occasion. Like, I think this would be a beautiful way to do like a folded down collar if you're doing a top down sweater. Because I like the look of a folded collar, but I feel like when you sew it down, it's like you lose some of the stretch. This is very stretchy, so definitely a technique that I'm going to remember for the future. And then the body of the hat is just a broken rib pattern. My mother is like texting me right now. Yeah. So this is how the hat turned out. I really hope she likes it. But it was very fun to knit. It didn't take me the entire 2 weeks, really. But I had some setbacks. Like, I was waiting for my larger needles to come in the mail. I was waiting for this and that. You know, I was like, oh, I'm traveling this time, so I don't want to take it with me, you know, because I want it to stay clean. So I had some setbacks. I'm not going to try it on because it is for someone else and I'm gifting it tomorrow, and I've already washed and blocked it, so I do not want to wash it again. But it's very, very squishy and soft. So I really hope that this is a nice soft solution for my coworker's mother. Yeah. So that's my one finished object. I think I talked about everything for it. Pattern, the yarn, the everything. I mean, it's a hat, so it's pretty simple, I guess. I feel like there's not much else to say. Oh, there is one thing else to say. So I was really dumb, and I had to like frog back the entire crown decrease section because I misread it. And it was literally just me reading the pattern too fast. It has nothing to do with the pattern itself, because you're supposed to decrease in like 4 points here, right? But like, so, you know, this is a very typical hat construction where you have like a couple stitches in the middle, and then you have like a left leaning decrease and a right leaning decrease on each side, you know, to make it very even. But for some reason, I did not read the part that says slip knit, and so I was only doing the knit 2 together part, so it was just like going like so I was only getting one side of each decrease, and it was just not decreasing like hardly at all. So I was extremely confused, and I was also like, this doesn't look right. It looks very swirly on the top. I reread the pattern and I was like, oh, I'm just a dum-dum. And I was supposed to, you know, do what you do for every hat under the sun, and decrease on both sides. So I had to frog that back. But once I redid it, I think it looks fine. It looks very nice. So that's my Auckland bound hat. Next, I'll just go ahead and talk about my whips in order, I suppose. So this is just, this is going to be a very small update on these because I really haven't gotten much done at all. But these are my vanilla socks that I've been working on for a bit now. I started these on a trip to Southern California that I took with my family several weeks ago, and I finished one sock and one entire sock on the trip, and then I've just been kind of taking the other sock with me and slowly working on it, like on the go. So that's kind of why I don't have much progress on this. Like, I don't really work on this at all when I'm at home. I pretty much just take the bag with me and I just kind of work on it in little bursts when I'm out somewhere. But I'm kind of sick of having this languishing around, and I want to knit some new, more fun socks. Especially last episode, I shared with you some very fun sock yarn that I received from my boyfriend while he was out on a trip to Wyoming. And I already have plans for exactly which socks I want to knit with those, and I kind of just want to start them. So I'm very anxious to finish this lingering vanilla sock, especially since I know how quickly I can finish it based on the previous one. So we'll see. I'm gonna try and just chug through the rest of it, but yeah, there's not much to show at this point yet. I'm almost done with the leg. I probably have about 8 or so more rows to go until I start that the shadow wrap heel to match the shadow wrap heel that I did on the first sock. I guess if you're new here, you haven't seen the first sock, so let me go ahead and unfurl this just to kind of show you. I do think I like how the color stories are playing though between the two socks. And I knew this was going to be the case when I first started, of course, because it's like a Zauberball, a self-striping yarn. You really can't control, you know, what the stripes are going to look like. So I had anticipated that they would be sisters and not twins. But I really like the way that they are matching each other though. Like, I really like the color story that's going on here because they're not exactly matching, but like you can see like they mimic each other in terms of the progression of the stripes. So I'm having fun with that. Yeah. So yeah, once again, completely off the books vanilla sock that I'm just making up as I go with a tubular cast on, a very long 1x1 twisted rib cuff, plain leg, a shadow wrap heel, a plain foot, and then just a regular decrease and Kitchener toe. So that's kind of what's going on with these. On to my next whip. I feel like whenever I have these shorter episodes, I feel like a teacher letting class out early. You know, it's like, okay, class, you know, we're gonna get up a little bit early today. Water is so good. When water tastes good, that's how you know that you should be drinking more water. Okay, enough rambling and side stories here. So what I have to show you next is my siksik jumper. I think it's just called siksik. So I'm gonna call it my siksik sweater because in America we call them sweaters. Look how cute it is. So I have finished the yoke completely. So I've split for sleeves already, as you can see. And I have my sleeves on just like a little bit of like elastic band here that I bought and had extra of. And then I'm currently working on the body, but it is very scrunched up. I am very scared about losing stitches right now, so I'm gonna put on some stitch stoppers. Because the thing is, like, I could buy longer needles, of course. Like, I could buy needles with a longer cable, but why would I when these needles do the job perfectly? I'm sure you all know exactly what I'm talking about. I should just get some interchangeables. Like, I think that would be a good investment for me. But okay, so this is about as stretched as I can get it, I think. But you can see that the yoke is done. So the top part's been steam blocked more. I tried to steam block the squirrels earlier, but because I hadn't split for sleeves yet, it was very hard to get it flat. So they're still kind of squirrely, pardon the pun. The squirrels are still kind of squirrely, but you can still see them, I think. So this is Siksik by the Petite Knitter. This is a circular yoke colorwork sweater that features motifs with squirrels, these little acorns, these leaves, these little 4-point flowers, this little like wreath, and then these little eyelet things. Yeah, very, very cute pattern. I'm having so much fun. I love doing color work, and I'm very excited to do some more color work because I'm so emotionally ready for fall, even though the weather outside is nowhere close to fall, with fall nowhere in sight, it seems. Because like we're gonna be in the mid-high 90s this week, which is obviously not ideal, but I'm emotionally ready for fall. Like when fall gets here, I'm gonna be so ready for her. So if you haven't been following the saga, this is a sweater that I'm knitting for my boyfriend. I am knitting the size 4. You know, when I split for sleeves, like I suddenly got so worried that it was gonna be like way too small. But then like I have to remember that this part is very scrunched up. Like this is supposed to be the entire body and it's stuck on this size of a needle. So I just have to remember that it's gonna open up more. But I mean, I should be fine. Everything, you know, is knitting to plan, so it should work out. I should just trust the process. But whenever I hold it up to myself, it feels so small. But yes, this is a sweater for my boyfriend. He picked out the yarn, he picked out the pattern, and he's been very excitedly following my progress on this. Yeah. So I'm at a very fun point right now where I've finished all the color work, everything. So I've essentially finished all of the interesting parts of this design, and all I have left to do is knit stockinette for the body as long as I want it to be, and then pick up the sleeves, which are all on holders, and then just knit down the sleeves, which is pretty much all stockinette with a couple decreases, and then I'm just done. So I'm at the mindless and therapeutic part of this pattern. I mean, okay, color work is also, it's not mindless, but it is therapeutic. But I'm definitely at the TV knitting portion of this now. And it's really nice. I'm excited for it. And the squirrels have turned out so cute. I'm gonna try and stretch it out so you can see it on the camera better. Look at how cute that is. It's just so adorable. Look at it. It's so cute. So I'm very excited about this sweater. Very, very, very excited. So the yarns that I'm using, the gray, the main color here, is by Playful Day Yarns. It's their yak fingering base, which is 10% yak. I want to say 10% nylon, and then 80% superwash merino. I'm pretty sure is the composition there. If I'm wrong, I'll correct myself, I'm sure. But the colorway is Moon Rocks. I believe this was an exclusive colorway for the Bay Area Yarn Crawl this year, which is why I picked up, which is why when my boyfriend kind of like found himself drawn to it, I made sure to pick up like 4 skeins just so that I would most definitely have enough yarn to make any sweater. And then he really liked this siksik pattern, and so I had him pick up the white yarn, which is just a regular Malabrigo sock, undyed, and now I'm making this sweater. And it is just darling. It is just absolutely darling. I really can't recommend this pattern enough. It is so cute, and I'm so excited to knit more of the Petite Knitters patterns because I also picked up the Sasky pattern, which is the one with bunnies on it, because I picked up this pattern when she was having a BOGO sale, and so I got the Sasky pattern at the same time, which I am planning to knit for myself at some point in the near future. Sorry, there's like probably a mascara fleck in my eye. Well, anyway, yeah, so this is my siksik jumper. Have made very good progress, as you can see, and there's really been no hiccups on this. It's a pretty straightforward pattern, you know. I'm familiar already with the circular yoke colorwork sweater, so it's not really anything that's much of a surprise to me. This next one I'm going to do my best to maneuver around, but I have like a lot of yarn going on with this, so we'll ooh, I think that was it. So we'll see how it goes. But this is my anjou tank by Skinny Dippin'. It looks huge, but I did try it on and the straps are kind of slipping off a little bit, but I do still have to do an applied I-cord edge to the armholes and the neckline, so I'm hoping that that will bring it in a bit. I mean, it's a tale as old as time, right? Like, it feels like it's not gonna fit until you do all the finishings, and then you remember that it ain't over till it's over. Anyway, so this is my anjou tank. It's so cute. It's really squishy and soft, which is fun. I love the slip stitch pattern. It's so cute. I mean, I was originally drawn to this pattern because it was just so unique looking compared to any other color work pattern that I'd seen, because the slip stitch color work is textured. I dropped a stitch, 1 second. Mayday, mayday. Okay, we're good. Yeah, the slip stitch pattern is textured, and so there's like pearl bumps mixed in here, which give it like this really nice squishy texture. It's so fun. It's such a fun pattern. So last time that I shared progress on this, I was kind of to this point where I had finished like to the point of where the underarms were, and then I just needed to join in the round. Unfortunately, I had to frog back a lot of that and re-knit some of this because I was having a problem, and I still don't even know where I messed up. Like, I'm sure it's not the pattern because it's been thoroughly tested and stuff, so it must have been user error somehow. But somehow, because you join in the round, right, and then you make new stitches for the underarm panels here in order to join in the round, for some reason, when I went to join in the round, it was not matching up here, because so there's like 2 boxes under here, right, and they all alternate. What was happening was when I went to join in the round, I had like 2 of the same box next to each other where the join was, and it was so very confusing. I still don't know where I messed up or how I actually should have fixed it. But what I ended up doing as my own fix, which makes this off pattern now, is I knitted one side for 1 more of these repeats so that the boxes would switch again, and then I would be on the correct box to join it in the round. But I must have somehow knit one of these sides backwards, and I don't know how that happened even, because I was at the correct row count to join, but it was just not lining up correctly. And so I think if anything, this gave me more underarm room, and it's going to drop one of the sides down by about 1.5 inches. This is about 1.5 inches, right? So it will drop either the front or the back by 1 inch or a inch and a half, so it won't be completely even, but I think it'll just be kind of up to me to decide which direction I want to wear it in, because of that, like if I would rather have the front lower or the back lower. I'm also hopeful that adding the I-cord finishings will hopefully bring things in a little bit and not make it like too low, so that's kind of my hope. Yeah. The yarn that I used for this was Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino, and it is in the colors Wheat and Dark Sea Green. I think it's called Dark Sea Green. But it's nice. This is my first time knitting with anything Knitting for Olive, and you know, I'm having a decent time with it. I do think that I'm not going to say that it feels cheap, because it doesn't feel cheap, but it just feels very interesting. It is soft and it is squishy and stuff, but like especially my experience with frogging it, it does leave a lot of dust. It does shed a little bit, which is not uncommon for any yarn that has cotton in it, but it is certainly something that was noticeable. So I don't know if I would work with Cotton Merino again. I know it's a cult classic, which is why I wanted to give it a try. I don't know if I would knit with it again. I would be curious to try Knitting for Olive's Soft Silk Mohair or some of their other lines, but I don't know if I see myself knitting with the cotton merino again. It is certainly light enough for summer garments for sure, which makes it a great summer yarn choice. But I just don't know. Like, I like it in this. I very much like it in this because it has the two colors, it has the additional texture and everything, but in like for me at least, envisioning this as like a straight stockinette kind of garment, I don't know if I like it. So I think this was a good project for me to use this on, but I'm also, yeah, I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. So that's all of my whips. That's my one finished object. I do have one thing left to share with you, which is my acquisition. But I'll tell you the story real quick. So I was on a work trip last week in San Diego, and of course before I left for my trip, I researched to see if there were any yarn stores in the vicinity that were like convenient for me to get to, because I did have my own rental car, and you know, on a work trip, like, I won't say on a work trip, but on my work trip, I knew that I wasn't really going to have anything like after work hours, like after 5. But most yarn stores like close at 5. So I did find one yarn store that was kind of near my hotel, called Apricot Yarn and Supply, and they did close at 5, so I did kind of have to rush in, but I got there like right in time, like right at 4:30, so I had enough time to kind of like browse around a little bit and find stuff. A very funny story about Apricot specifically is I have ordered yarn from there before, because when I was making my Chihiro cardigan from a very early episode, I kept running out of Amano Sami yarn. And in that particular colorway, there were not many places that stocked it online, but one of the very few was Apricot Yarn and Supply in San Diego, and so I was ordering my supplement yarns from this store. And so when I went to the checkout at this store, she asked me if I have a rewards account. I was like, I don't think so, but there's a small possibility that I might, weirdly. So let me give you my info. And she looked me up, and it turns out I did have a rewards account with them. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. And I was telling her the story. I'm like, I'm not even from here. I'm from the Bay Area. I'm just here on a work trip. I literally flew in earlier today. But you know what's very funny is I was ordering Amano Sami from your online storefront because you're one of the few places that stocked it, and I needed more than what I had. I ran out of yarn. And so I must have a rewards account from when I ordered back then. So it was very funny, very serendipitous that I happened to finally go to that store in person. But of course I had to pick myself up like a little souvenir skein. I didn't want to buy anything crazy because I was just there for work. But I did pick up this beautiful skein of sock yarn. So this is called, so the company is called Fiber Spates. And this is, I believe, the Vivacious Botanical Collection. And it's a standard 4-ply sock yarn, 100% superwash merino wool. And so these are all botanical dyed. And this is the colorway Lichen. So it's like a pretty pistachio green. And it's all natural dye. And it's so pretty. So I am so excited to look up some more sock patterns to make with this. Because it's a very nice like tonal but very like solid kind of tonal color, I think I'm going to want to do something more intricately patterned with it, like some kind of lace or intricate cables or something to kind of, yeah, because it's got like a nice, you know, solid base to work off of. So very looking forward to that. More things to dig my fingers into. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If you like this video, please take the time to leave a like and a comment down below, and please consider subscribing to my channel if you like what I do here. It helps me so much. Well, until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye!